So let me load this in. And turn that music down when I get to the settings. Oh god, I'd forgotten how loud it was. So I'm gonna wait until someone comes in. I know it's weird, a discussion about Wipeout in No Man's Sky, but it's easier to just wander around and discuss ideas. We ended up with the Nexus, didn't we? They can go down a bit. $25, that'll do. Looks very hexagonal. Doesn't seem like the friendlier places. Nice. Okay. down completely. Bit of more motion blur. So, Wipeout. Everybody loves Wipeout. Well, everyone that plays Wipeout does Wipeout. So, chatting on Reddit today with a guy who asked a simple question: would you? Isn't it a shame that they don't have some of the old mechanics in the game? And I said, well, yeah, there is some pieces about it that would be nice, but they've evolved it in such a way that it doesn't. You never miss the things they take away because of the things they put in place. So that got me thinking. Now, Sony retired Liverpool Studios a while back. Let's get into space. It's probably going to be better in space. And that was it. That was the end. And then they did the VR Omega edition, which um, was meant to be that way from day one. But they got that done, and now there's no hint of anything. Um, and Sony did say they weren't going to make any because of the cost involved. So I mean, to make a game like Wipeout, um, costs a lot of time, effort, and money, and it takes up valuable resources that could be used somewhere else. So, um, I thought, and whether or not Sony would go for this is another matter, and it's one that will never be answered unless the question's asked. So, not going to the Nexus. It's just a horrible. My PS4 doesn't like the Nexus. So, this is what I got to thinking. Now, Wipeout was pretty popular, and it stayed quite popular. I don't know the numbers yet. I'll do some research on how many players there are who play Wipeout worldwide. Now, if it's a large enough number, it means that there is a demand for it. Okay, I mean, not everybody likes racing games, not everybody likes flying games, but Wipeout has something that, done correctly, I'm not saying it hasn't been done correctly, but done in a different way, could be a very popular game. So, here's what I thought, and it might work and it might not. So, I'm sure a lot of you are familiar with a program called Blender, which is basically a 3D program, and other things. It composites, does video editing. It's an all-round powerhouse, and it's even being taken up by some of the studios. The graphics companies, Nvidia, are all producing add-ons so that it can. RenderMan's got a Blender add-on. So that program has gained over a period of time a foothold in some of the biggest effects and graphics market there is. So, Wipeout seems to be shelved by Sony at the moment. What if somebody or a community of people were to take the game code, redo a completely new set of maps, basically make the next game a community-led project to make the next game, which means you would have the resources of the community, such as modelers, texturers, environment builders, motion graphics people, all manner of people would have access to Blender. Okay? Um, you've seen you must have seen some of the works in Blender, some of the models they produce, some of the scenes, some of the movies. It's a very capable program. Now, if models from Blender could be put into Wipeout as assets, then you would have what is essentially the largest 3D modeling studio in the world. That is a resource that can achieve great things. Now, you've also got the largest texturer resource in the world. You've got the largest animators in the world. You've got the whole community coming together like they did with Blender. I mean, not everybody who plays Wipeout is going to contribute assets to it or contribute any time or programming. However, there will be people who've got the skill sets who can do that sort of thing that will. So you take you get the license to use Wipeout. Okay, that's given to the community. The community then has access to make assets and port them over to the Wipeout engine, the game engine, which I would say, seeing what I've seen, the best game engine that could be used for this would be Unreal Engine 5 because of the way it models, the way it represents masses, things like that. That would be the lighting, that would be the most logical game engine to use. So everything goes from Blender to which there is a link already. It's all there. You have programmers who will put it all into a game format. You have animators, directors, everybody. All contributes, whoever has the talent to, contributes to building the next Wipeout game. Now, can you imagine, with the resources that are available, Unreal Engine 5, and again, this is a big if, but Sony on board supporting it, because they would. See, here's the thing. For Sony, you would give them the following what's the word I'm looking for? So you'd give them something that tied it to the PlayStation. I'll explain that in a moment. So you go to Sony, we go to Sony, somebody goes to Sony and proposes that we license or we have access to the game code. We have license to produce assets externally, outsourced from a central body that would pull it all together. We have basically no restrictions. In return, the game can only be played on a PlayStation 5 and on a PSVR 2. It can't be played on any other platform. It is exclusive to PlayStation. Now, if the numbers are large enough for the community and the percentage that would do the following work out right, it could be a bonus for Sony, because I'll explain. So if you have, let's say, a community of Wipeout players of, let's say, 2 million, just gonna get blown up. 2 million. Oh. Right, so there's 2 million players. This is just So you have a player base of 2 million. This is just a number that I'm picking out of my head. And 25% of them would do the following criteria. The game can only be played on a PS5 and on a PSVR 2. Can't be played on a PSVR 1. It has to be on a PSVR 2. Say 25% of the 2 million would go out and buy a PSVR 2 or PS5 and a PS5 2 just to play that game. What's 25%? Did I say? Yeah, 25%. So a quarter of 2 million is 500,000. Now that means that Sony, without having to do anything, would have shifted 500,000 PSVR 2 units, or 500,000 PSVR 2 units and PS5 PSVR 2 units. That's without doing it, without any financial outlay. Sony would be able to shift an extra 500,000 units. If the numbers were bigger, it would be more lucrative for Sony to do that, because they'd be moving PlayStation 5 units and PSVR 2 units with no marketing needed. It seriously would. It would sell itself. So they would gain in as far as they've got an IP sat there doing nothing when it could be generating something. So if they were to, it would in essence be a license. It wouldn't, not one that we'd have to pay for each year, but one that would be a license for us to, for the community that does this, to produce the assets and the game for Sony's approval. Now they would have the final say on quality, on basically protecting their brand, their name, and their brand. Because Wipeout is a Sony game. There's no two ways about it. It's a PlayStation game. In return, Sony gets a shift 500,000 more units than if that IP's just sat collecting dust. Well, no, they don't collect dust, but if it just sat there doing nothing. Now, what that would enable is that the community could keep on creating add-ons, creating extra ships. They could, with the community-led project like this, it could grow into something amazing on the roadmap to the PSVR 3. Because there's going to be a PSVR 3, you know that. So it would keep on growing until it got to the PSVR 3, when there would have been a PSVR 3 version already being prepared. So it just continues on. The game couldn't be released at any other time other than with a PSVR game, PSVR launch. That would be another stipulation. So Sony would win hands down. They wouldn't have to expend, they wouldn't have to lay out any finance to get a game out on the market that promotes their product. Because let's face it, games are generally look the way they do, so they'll entice people to buy them, which means that they're selling their product, their consoles. It just makes sense, and without any financial outlay, it's an even more appealing prospect. I think that, well, again, I'm optimistic. I think if someone brought that to me and I wasn't doing anything with the IP and I had that much control over it, whereby it couldn't go to any other platform, it couldn't be. Oh, the other thing is, this might not go that well. The game is free, but you can only play it on a PSVR 2 and a PS5. So you give everyone the key to unlock the door, to get into the, and this is why I say Unreal Engine 5, because from what I've seen, and I'm hoping it isn't another CD Projekt Red trick where it's like that's how it looks, and it's in reality it looks a lot worse. But I don't think they'd risk their reputation on producing a substandard product when advertising something superior. So from what I've seen, the lighting on that, the modeling, the way it handles the animations, it just looks perfect for Wipeout. Because here's the thing, because the Wipeout tracks are very geometric, they're very sort of, they're complex, but they're kind of basic shapes, um, towers, things like that. So you could create some stunningly lifelike. It would be like flying through a movie. It really would. It could. So I just think that it would be a way for us to get Wipeout 5, and I said Wipeout 5 because it'd be on the PS5. Um, but it would be a way of getting the game out there for the PSVR 2, and I just think it's worth trying. Uh, so this is that's all I wanted to say. Just if you watch this video, if you're watching this video, leave a comment as to whether you think that would be something that's worth pursuing, and I can judge it. A small survey, and I do a survey on Twitter and stuff like that. So let me know, and hopefully it's a positive reaction.